What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one we're talking about what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with SPY, Nvda, Tesla, and the QQQ, and talk about some very big news that just came out. Before I say anything, though, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Anyways, let's talk about the market, what's going on with it. SPY, Tesla, Neo, Aapl, the QQQ, these things are down in the pre-market after getting some downwards pressure from the news from yesterday and also initial jobless claims. What's going on with these numbers? Initial jobless claims are only 228,000, well below what the forecast has been. And we are expecting, once again, we want there to be a lot more downside for the job sector. We want to see more and more unemployment and more pain going forward, and we're not really getting that so far. The initial jobless claims were lower than expected. There's less weakness in the market than what the Fed wants for the job sector, so this is having a negative effect on the markets because the Fed is incentivized to be more hawkish when things like that happen. Now, going forward, okay, we also have the NASDAQ 100 futures falling as Netflix and Tesla shares decline too. That's worth noting. And then despite that, as far as earnings go, I think the majority of the major earnings are done for the week. We just have a couple of others left. After the market closes, we have Capital One, just a couple of others, and then we have American Express for tomorrow. Now, for news that drops, I'm going to go over these pretty fast, by the way. The rejection rates for the auto loans have hit the highest level for an entire data series going back to like 2013. This is showing some signs in the credit markets going into declines, once again getting these stress levels that are higher than before. It's worth noting, and that could have a big effect on the economy going forward as well. Now, for now, however, we're still seeing Credit Suisse coming out saying that they're raising their S&P 500 target for the week at 4,700. I wouldn't rule this out, but at the same time, what catalyst is there to really push the market up that high? I'm not really seeing anything that big, as earnings are going to be a little bit like less significant for the majority of the week or the rest of the week going forward. And so far, Tesla and Netflix both tanked after earnings. So it's like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for us to get that high this week, but it could happen in like the future. It is a possibility, seeing how much the market could pump. Credit Suisse also raised the Aapl target to $220 from 200, which is bullish news for Aapl. Barclays has come out and they actually raised their Nvda target to $600 from 500, maintaining an overweight rating, which is bullish news once again. Now, I'm not gonna like guarantee that it's gonna go that high. It is a possibility because with Nvda you never know, and a lot of people are eyeing that $600 level. But the thing about that is, this could all just be part of a scheme, part of a way of hyping up the markets. And you can't always trust these analysts, by the way, but that doesn't change the fact that I am bullish on Nvidia nonetheless. But I just wanted to note that that target, there's no guarantee it's going to go that high super quickly. It could take a little longer. But once again, you never know. For Tesla, they also filed a recall of about 17,000 cars. But once again, I don't really know if this would be a total recall like many other companies, because it's just a very major seatbelts is a very minor, seatbelt issue that happened according to the NHTSA. The seatbelt issue is not like that huge, so I just wanted to note that this is important. Finally, for Tesla, there was just more talks about what happened yesterday during the earnings call. So far, it led to downside as Tesla's expecting some declines for Q3. Anyways, let's talk about the charts now. How are things looking? Looking at SPY, this thing is continuing to decline by making lower lows and lower highs so far, at least over the last like day and a half. And it's looking a little bit more bearish to me, just looking at the current trend. In the morning, we're going to be watching this 50 EMA. Could we try to get above it again, or are we going to just continue to reject? It's looking like we're going to get very close to this 453.5 area. We may try to bounce in the morning first, right? Be stuck in this range and retest, like get very close to 455 or so, and then come right back down. And we could see this thing come to the 453s for today. It's looking a little bit more bearish right now in the pre-market. Looking at Tesla, this thing looks like it's still showing weakness as it's currently around the 278 to 279 area, but it is trying to base in the 270s. You can see it's showing a little bit of strength trying to hold up, but it's still selling off at the same time. So what I'm thinking is it might try to bounce just a little bit, maybe retest like the very low 280s, but then more sellers are going to likely come in the morning and start pushing this thing down. I could see it retest 275 or so. And if that fails, I mean, it could go even lower than that. We're going to see if it could try to hold this level. There's a good chance it may actually break below it into the lower 270s because of more fear from other investors. We didn't really see a whole lot of every single investor coming in because the market hasn't opened just yet. And there is some fear about Q3, so I could anticipate a little bit more downside for Tesla. For Aapl, this is once again holding up compared to the market, but it's starting to decline a little bit as well. Aapl has been very sideways, and I do believe it's going to try to range trade for a while. It got some bullish news thanks to Credit Suisse, but I just want to note that as far as Aapl goes, we're going to have to see it hold above 193.5. It has to hold above that for it to remain bullish. There's a possible accumulation that is developing right here for Aapl to try to like push up, but I'm just seeing lots of sideways price action for it, being stuck around the 194 zone, going back and forth right now. And we're going to be watching 193.5. Could Aapl hold this level? If it breaks below it, it's going to test the pre-market low, then start dropping even lower to 192.5. So watch that as your very important zone. For now, it looks very sideways to me, with resistance being the very strong resistance being around this like 195 area. I think it's going to be stuck in the 194 zone for quite a while, and we're going to be watching to see how it tests 193.5. For the triple Q, it's looking more bearish. Last time I checked it, it's actually continuing to decline right over here. And it's going to be testing 382, the entire zone right there. If that breaks, 380 could come for it. If it manages to hold above it, it could try to bounce and make its way up to retest 384. If anything, it's looking more bearish thanks to Netflix and Tesla and other factors. So there's a good chance 380 could be coming. So watch 382 as our support for now. Looking at Nvda, this thing is trying to base around this 464 level. Not looking that bad when you zoom out on the bigger time frames on this, because this stock does tend to move in large ranges. You could see it's trying to base around the 1 hour 50 EMA that's trying to hold it up, and it's actually falling a little below it as of right now, which is a sign of some weakness. On the 30 minutes time frame, this is looking like it wants to just kind of like hold around these levels. It doesn't look too bearish on the 30-minute, but on the 4 hour time frame, it's looking a little bit weaker. So for Nvda, I believe Nvda is going to get a very nice bounce, by the way. I don't think it's going to just like tank super hard, because we got some bullish targets already from different companies. But what I'm thinking is it could come down a little bit more, and we have this imbalance that formed around this 460 area. So it could drop a little bit more. There could be a little bit more downwards pressure coming. Could get very close to 460, very low 460s before this thing tries to bounce once again. And I think it's very likely that that's going to happen because of this imbalance right here on the 30 minutes time frame. So there could be a little bit more downside before a nice bounce on it. But overall, it's not looking that bad. And besides that, I think I went over the majority of the stocks. Looking at Meta, for example, this one is down a little bit as well. However, it's trying to base around our support. It's still holding up quite decently compared to the market. We're going to be watching 312. If that fails, let's watch 310, 309, and then 307. I think Meta is going to decline a little bit more, maybe retest 310, then try to bounce, and then kind of range trade for some time before eventually continuing higher later on. That's what I'm seeing for Meta for now, but the market's showing some weakness, which could slow it down and cause sideways price action. And for Amazon, a breakdown below this 133.8 level, and we'll take this thing down to 133 flat, then 132.62. Watch the mid 132s very carefully as our support. It's looking a little bit more bearish from a technical standpoint, so I could be seeing a retest of 132.6 or so to 133. But overall, it's not looking like it's going to dump insanely hard unless some very bad news comes out. It looks like it could just drop a little bit more before it continues to move. So with that said, thank you all so much for listening. Be ready and watch these levels. I will most definitely see you guys in the next video. The market to the moon, because the long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.